Then I'm going to put the link as soon as I find out what this looks like on Facebook. Let me see what it does, because I've seen it on YouTube, but I haven't seen what it looks like live on Facebook. Let's see if it even... Huh. I don't actually see it playing. It's weird because the destination says it's on. Huh. I don't know what to think. It should be there. All right. Well, anyway, it probably will show up later. Or maybe I just need to expand my screen a little. Still learning this restream just a little bit, so I'm going to get into it. It'll give people a few minutes to show up anyway. All right, so, interesting. Well, it won't. It doesn't show up on Facebook. But on YouTube, I will go ahead and put the link on YouTube here. I think it's showing. Yep, here we go. Yep. Only a Heartless. I will go ahead and put the link on YouTube here. I can hear myself. New comments will display here. Okay, great. So when I put the link in the comments here. Don't hide. No, let's see. Still trying to get used to this thing. All right, hi. Okay, good. There we go. I think I got it. Get it set up. There you go. So there, if you want to call or whatever, there's the link right there in the chat box, and that'll show up. It should show up on YouTube too. I think. Pretty sure it does. Anyway, so good, pretty good victory. Something that is long overdue. It kind of felt like a boot being lifted off of my neck, like a breath of fresh air. All these years of thinking that 9 people could just decide for the rest of the country without any sort of opportunity to debate them or challenge them or have your voice heard in any way before these tyrants from 1973 was just overbearing. That was the start of the entire cultural war. In this, I don't know if it's the start of it, man. It's been going on for a long time. But that's definitely one of the worst aspects of it. Is just unbelievable that we actually got to a point in this country, and still are at a point where 50% of the population or so can look at something so precious as a life, something small. I remember as a child. And a friend of mine had a BB gun, and he was torturing a cat with it and shooting this cat. And he wanted to kill this little tiny kitten. It was just a little tiny kitten, and he was shooting it, and and then he drowned the thing. And the whole rest of the day, I was destroyed, like just in tears, just devastated that anybody could be so inhuman. I just can't imagine that I live in a country where some 60 million babies have been just utterly ripped to shreds, without heart, without conscience, and that I live among at least, let's say, half of those were more than one abortion per mother. So that means there's roughly 30 some million women who have no compassion, no heart, can look at something as precious as a child and just rip it to shreds. I can't fathom that. How do these people live among me? Why are these people? And how did our country get this corrupt, this disgusting, this immoral, this perverse? I see some of my relatives on Facebook, and they come and challenge me, and I know you were taught better than that, because I know your parents, because I'm double your age, some of you. And I know the kind of people they are. And they were people who had compassion on innocence, life. What happened to you? And I don't mean just one person. There's been a multitude of people that are related to me that are attacking the right to murder something. Even if you don't think it's a fully developed life, whatever. It's alive. You say you have more compassion on dogs, on cats, on birds. You wouldn't do to a baby what you would do to a frickin' pigeon. And I wouldn't either. Where is your humanity? Where is just the natural tendency to look at something precious and want to defend it? How did you get to that state in your life? How do I live in a nation of 30 plus million murderers? And that's just the women. The women are supposed to have maternal instinct and compassion built into them. But our country has become so disgusting, so filthy and rotten that even women have no compassion. And this sounds like a sermon, I guess, right? But as you know, my views have changed on a lot of things. So it's not a sermon per se. I'm not just going to give you a bunch of Bible verses, but I have to say, if there was no religion in this country, I don't know that any of you would even pretend to have compassion. Because some of you that are attacking me, I know you at least pretend that you're, religious in some way. You put on a pretense, but that's the problem, isn't it? There's no heartfelt desire for truth anywhere, for life, for compassion. And this sort of manifests itself all through our culture in a lot of different ways. I tried to call somebody today just to talk about some of the stuff I put on my board all the time. And, I kind of knew he was a jerk. So I guess I was setting myself up for it. But I thought, well, this is his topic. He likes to talk to Christians about atheism and stuff like this. So I thought, well, this stuff should be like something mentally fun. He cut me off immediately, started making fun of me, being rude. I thought, where is the logic in people's mind? Why do they treat people like this? And what's strange is some of these people, because I will defend babies, but I'll do it bluntly, will accuse me of having no compassion or no desire, while you would literally destroy a human life callously. I wonder, do you ever ask yourself, can I apply the logic that you use, mostly ladies, and probably another 30 million men along with the ladies? Can I apply that same logic that you use to destroy a human life to any life? Or is it just because you can't see the baby without a, without a, I found it. There you go. So if you want to talk to me, you can put it on Facebook. Talk to me here. All right. So anyway, yeah. Oh, there is a link right there. Great. I guess I had to refresh Facebook when I started it. That's why I didn't see it. Somebody wanted to talk to me last time on Facebook. I said I didn't see any of your comments, so I'm trying to be real careful to. Yeah. I think if let me go back to what I was saying. Would you look at any other life and apply the same logic that you use when it comes to abortion? I mean, if somebody reminds me of somebody that offended me, does that mean I have the right to destroy them? I'm using the word. I'm dancing around Mr. Algae rhythm here, okay? So I'll say destroy instead of the other word, or end you. If you cost me any money in my life, or you make my life miserable, can I end you? Can I destroy you? If you're a burden to me, or you keep me from reaching my goals in life, does that give me a right to end you? Now, I could say that you are a blob of cells right now. Are you not a blob of cells? At which point of development are you not a blob of cells anymore? What sort of logic is that? Can I kill any blob of cells that I want? Or just certain blobs of cells? If you're inconvenient, can I end you? If your face reminds me of somebody who attacked me, can I end you? Can I utterly rip you to shreds in retaliation against you because you look like somebody? Or should I probably take another route and find some tender-heartedness and a little bit of forgiveness? And I don't mean forgive them in a sense like pretend like they didn't do it, but no, I mean move on with your life. Find justice if they did something criminal to you or something wrong. Always seek justice first. But for heaven's sakes, move on with your life. Don't take it out on somebody else. How can you take vengeance on somebody else who didn't do something? Because they look like somebody else. Because they remind you of somebody else that hurt you. I mean, some of the excuses that you hear are just heartbreaking that anybody could stoop to this level. You know, you deserve better than to be offered just the opportunity only to destroy whatever you don't like or whatever's hard. You deserve to be taught better in this society. You deserve to have the opportunity to know that you can grow past and overcome mistakes that you've made. You deserve to be told that life's not over because things are difficult or hard. You deserve to have somebody actually have compassion on you. Now you say, well, where are the men? Why don't they have to accept responsibility? Well, legally speaking, if you're the man, you're told that you must comply. You must pay for that kid. So you're on the hook for the rest of your life. Now you say, well, but I know a whole lot of guys that get away with not doing that. Describe get away with it. For the rest of their lives, they have to hide from you. And they have to hide from the government like a criminal that escaped from prison or spend a large fraction of their money because in many cases they got used by a woman hoping to have a paycheck, a cash paycheck for the rest of her life from that man. Is it really honest or fair? But where are the men that do stand up and take responsibility? Of course, you should stand up and take responsibility. But at least by law, you're told you have to. You don't get it. You don't get the right to just. You're not told. You just have the right to just run from it. And at least you don't get to just destroy your wife because she might make your life harder. Imagine if your husband or your boyfriend or your ex or whoever had the same right to do to you what you want to do to your baby because you just inconvenienced him. Can you imagine that, ladies? Now, what if you share the same blood? Let's say I give a blood donation and my blood is keeping you alive because my blood keeps you alive. Do I have a right then to destroy you? If you go into a room and you're inside the room but not outside the room, does that mean I have a right to destroy you? So location gets to determine whether or not I get to end you. Is that really true? Is that really the logic that you want to go with? You say, well, it's all a religious argument. Have I given you a religious argument here? No. I've not given anybody a religious argument, have I? No, but I am giving you some pretty logical things to think about and some good sense. And I am appealing to compassion. Where is human compassion? Do you notice our Have you noticed society is coarse and angry and everybody's cussing all the time, and people can't just drive down the road without flipping each other off and cutting each other off, and you can't, you feel tense when you even just order food because you feel like the person taking your order hates you for being there because you're inconveniencing them. How many of you ever feel that way? There's a coarseness in our society, and part of that is from this culture war that says you can run from responsibility. It turns you into a monster, and everybody around you is a monster, and it's making life difficult for a lot of us. I tell you, it might sound like a sermon, but I'm not giving you a single religious argument. I am a trained preacher, by the way, so maybe I have a little bit of that left in me. So where's your compassion? We live in a coarse society that's angry, bitter, at each other's throat, and I think there's going to come a day in this country where we're gonna probably have to square off at some point because this side can't stand this side and this side can't stand this side, and we're just incongruous. So if you don't get your life under control to where you're not so coarse, because what you're doing is inhuman and against nature, and nature can't support what you want any longer. Society can't support the insanity that you're trying to do, and at some point sensible, reasonable people have to get away from you. If you'll kill a baby, what won't you do? I ask a man who's considering a woman, if you look at a woman and you think that she would kill a baby, kill her, something so innocent and precious that she should have the natural instinct to protect and want, and would rip it to shreds, what else would she not do? I guarantee you she'd take your money. I guarantee you she'd take your pride and your dignity from you. I guarantee you that she would hurt you if she needed to. It's not the kind of woman you want to spend the rest of your life with, guys. I don't care if she's pretty, freaking run out the door. Turn around and don't look back. If a woman would destroy a baby, she should never be given the opportunity for that to ever happen. Run the other freaking way. I'm amazed at this society because it really doesn't matter what I talk about, whether I talk about, geometry and math and stuff like that, which I'm not wonderful at, but I'm teaching myself the geometry of the ancients and all that. You've seen my videos. If you see me talk about that, and nobody comments, nobody says anything, but then I even talk about something like this, and everybody's scared. Everybody's scared of truth. Yeah, but you just don't know how hard it is. Well, what if the man said that about you? Well, it's just going to be really hard to deal with this woman, so I can just end her, right? And by the way, a lot of men, that is what happens because we live in that sort of a coarse society. And so a lot of men do to the women what women will do to their babies. You've lost every sense of decency. You're a repulsive and repugnant people now. You're fit to be destroyed. And it's very possible that frickin' Putin, and I shouldn't say frickin' Putin, he's got his head on straight. He's doing the right thing. And it may be that Putin decides one day, I have the ability to completely destroy that country that's ruining the earth, that is so arrogant around the world. And he might do it, folks. And what's our argument? Why should we stop him? Well, you got 100 million people in this country that don't even know which bathroom to go in, don't even know that a human life is worth protecting. What's your argument about him not just completely wiping you out? At least he's protecting his people. You know that? He's protecting the dignity of marriage in his country. Yeah, and you're going to join with Fox News and attack the guy who's standing up for you and your values and what you believe. Stop listening to Fox News. Fox News is just as much a part of the White House propaganda machine as any of the other media. You say, well, they're right sometimes. Yeah, they're right sometimes, but they're also there to be right, to get you believing the wrong things at the right time. So they'll get you on some things, and then when they really need you, like Ukraine, they'll just jump in with the Democrats. And what's the difference in what Fox News says about Ukraine and what CNN or ABC or CBS says about Ukraine? There's no difference. The White House runs the propaganda. They pay for it with your money. Obama signed an executive order saying the word propaganda was legal now for the executive branch to use taxpayer money. So before that, they were doing it. They've been doing it since, I don't know, late 50s, early 60s. Hugh tells me that when he was young, they used to have to tell you that the broadcast was paid for with public money. Now they don't even tell you on TV. But the fact is, all of your media, whether it's on CNN, ABC, Fox News, CBS, OAN, Newsmax, it doesn't matter which one it is. This is why they have White House press corps meetings, and all the press goes. And by the way, Fox News goes. They all go and they visit with the president. And the president entertains him and makes jokes and buddies. What he's doing is he's setting up his, some of his deals and what the propaganda is going to be. And of course, it's not the only time they do that. CIA is always helping with that. The FBI's planning their attacks that they're going to put on propaganda and who they're going to kill. And they'll kill people in this country to make a point. Lots and lots of times. You think it's just a coincidence, just some crazy coincidence conspiracy, right? That when Biden's in Pennsylvania pitching for a bridge and pitching to get $40 billion for infrastructure, that a bridge is destroyed. Do you think that's just coincidence? Really? Is it? Well, they run your media and they run what they say about Ukraine. And Fox News is giving you the same story. The same blah, blah, blah. You can't tell the difference. So they might say one good thing or two good things, but they're doing it from an angle that still keeps you controlled. Fox News has never told you what really happened on 9/11, that it was about burying Hughes trademarks. They never told you that. The media can't be trusted. Nothing they say, even news that's online, you can't trust any of it. And it's so bad, and our society is so programmed now that I literally have to change what I say to try to fit where people can try to accept it a little bit, because nobody cares enough about truth and they believe those news stories. So how in the world do I convince you of truth when you think everything the media says is true? But you'll say, well, no, the Republican side of the media, it's right. It's the Democrat side of the media that's wrong. And the Democrats, of course, oh no, the Democrat media, the left media, that's right, that's correct. But the Fox News and Newsmax, that they're the ones that are lying. You're in a box. You haven't heard truth your whole life. If you had heard the truth once in your life, you would have heard what really happened on 9/11. You'd ask questions like, where the frick was bin Laden's body? How come we never saw that? And then the supposed SEAL Team 6 was destroyed the next day. That supposedly killed him, right? They all died in a helicopter crash. And we're just going to let that pass, like we saw, the most surveilled place on earth, the Pentagon, but not one clear video of an airplane hitting it, which of course hit at ground level, right there where Hughes' court case was in the Pentagon, against the Groves family, the founding family of the Pentagon. But you'll believe the news, and 100 years from now, people will go back and they'll look up this news. They'll never have heard the truth once. And that's the desire of my life, is at least to get the truth out there. So somebody, even if it's 100 or 200 years from now, will pick that up and say, no, somebody was telling them truth the whole time. But they were too freaking arrogant, too blind, too coarse as a society. They didn't care about killing their own children. They were that grotesque and disgusting. It's no wonder they couldn't hear any truth. And you know what? It's a lot of you that go to church too. You're just as gross. You're just as disgusting. And you may not kill a baby outright, you know. But you have no ear for truth. At least you're less gross in a lot of ways, but you don't care about justice for people that have been killed. You're not seeking to know truth at a fundamental level, and so you wrap yourself inside this little matrix. And then an interesting matrix is the word for mother, right? So it's based on the same word, womb. And you're kept in a womb. You're kept. And that's like abortion, right? You are kept in this little box. You're never allowed out of that box. Why is the moon a cube is more profound than anybody understands, because I understand that little box, that little moon cube that's on the cover of my book. That's the matrix that you're kept in by the media, partly because you, and mostly because you refuse to care more about truth than anything else on earth, because you care less about justice. And justice is the most important thing you can ever do. Find justice against those who've committed murder. And if that means with abortion, you're going to go after women now that are willing to kill their babies, and God bless them. Okay, I told you this is not a religious conversation, but God bless anybody that will go out and find justice for those who commit murder. I'm probably going to get flagged for saying that word. Don't end human life. You're grotesque. You're disgusting. And those of you that don't find truth and won't search for it with all your heart, more than anything else, you have to have truth above all. You have to have justice above all. You're part of the problem. You're the reason you're the reason that well, you're the reason that half of the population rebels against you. Do you understand that? Because you have a little bit of truth, or you think you have the truth, and then you stopped learning. Maybe your mother gave it to you. Well, that's the same thing the Muslims did, right? Muslims are more righteous than a lot of you. So every religion says they've got some truth. Well, they got it from their parents. Well, why don't you do something more? And once you think you've got truth, don't accept it as that's the finality. Keep going, keep learning, and keep pushing forward, because there's a whole lot of truth you still haven't heard yet, that most of the world hasn't heard yet. And that's the goal of my life. The dream of my life is that someday, even if it doesn't happen in my generation, someday somebody will pick up something I read and just be like, oh my gosh, somebody in that freaking disgusting generation of people who would murder 60 million of their children knew the truth and wrote about it. This changes everything about what we know. That's my goal in life. That's really what I want the most. I want somebody to know truth because I cared enough to want justice for those who were murdered. Who's going to seek justice for these little kids now that were killed? 60 million of them. There won't be any justice because you only cared about truth a little bit. So you're not as disgusting as those who would murder the children, but you're the reason that those people have to rebel against you. You say, no, they're rebelling against you. Because you didn't look for truth. You found a little bit of truth, and you held to it in some grotesque and disgusting way. And so now they've taken that little bit of you, of what they saw, and they became that. Because as they said, that's what you really are. Because they know that you're not truth. Say, no, I really believe in God. Do you? Do you? You really believe in God? Yeah. Well, if you believe in God, how come you're not helping Hugh find justice for murdered women in his lives? How come that just goes right over your head and you just go right past it every time? How come when I mention murdered people, you bristle and you back off and you run away? How come, if you care about truth and you care about God, how come when I tell you in Greek from the received text, what I write on my board, that you dismiss it out of hand and you don't even try to understand it? You care about God, but you don't care about truth? I thought God was truth. I mean, this is just our society today. There's not anyone. I don't care if you're on the religious side or if you're on the left side. They just are openly what you are secretly. You're disgusting. You're gross. You're at the core just completely a rotten, horrible human being. And the left just says, we know you are, so we're going to rebel against your pretense, and we're just going to do that openly. But there's no difference on the inside. I don't care who you are. You're not any different because you don't really care about truth that much. I mean, I've seen how you treat people at church. I mean, we got people at church that want to go to to, to outside dinners and things that we've had, and nobody will pick them up and take them. You know what I mean? Because they smell bad, and nobody helps them. You know, Hugh talks about how he used to carry his wife, who was in a wheelchair before they murdered her from muscular dystrophy. He'd carry her up the stairs, carry her down, put her in, and the people wouldn't even wait on them to go eat dinner, you know, or help her in the door, or even open the door for him, or help get her in and out of the car. He did that for years there at that church, and nobody would assist. That's par for the course. But inside the building, they'll make a pretense. Oh, we love you, Vicky. We love you. That's who you really are inside. And so the left mirrors that because they've rejected your pretense. Do you really care about those people? Do you really care about those people beside you all the time? I mean, you say church is the most important thing, but all of you have cars, and there's people that want to go all the week, all the time that can't go. My own kid has a hard time finding rides sometimes. And it's real hard to find somebody that'll take them. But everybody drives to church with, you know, two, except for, you know, mothers and wives that have several kids in the back. But most people go to church, just the two of them, big open seats, you know. And it's never addressed by the churches. You know, some people might be willing to, but it's never addressed or brought in the open, or you know, problems are never solved at church. They just never are. Seldom, right? Because there's no way to get messages to the pastor that are taken seriously. You have to go before a deacon board, and you know, and if you're not popular, you're not well known, you might as well not exist. I mean, it's just kind of how it is. It's like at every church I've ever seen. You know, except for maybe like the little tiny churches that I've been to that, you know, have 10 members or something. And I've seen them have power struggles too. It's unbelievable. I've seen the crazy things in little tiny churches with 5-10 members. One guy thinks he's supposed to have all the power, you know, there's only 5 people there. And I'm not even exaggerating. It's just the craziest things. People are so disgusting. All you care about is power, about money. All you care about is fame, but you don't care about truth. If you cared about truth, you'd care about justice. If you cared about justice, when somebody says that there's murders, you'll do something. You'll ask questions. You'll say, how can I help? And none of you do it. So you're not going to tell me that you believe in God. I don't care how much you say you do. You don't. You're lying to yourself, and the left knows that you're lying to yourself, and they reject you for it. That's why you have such a split 180 degrees in the opposite direction. Now, they're not any better than you on the left by any stretch of the imagination. No, they're revolting. They've taken it and they just said, listen, you know, you're hiding your grotesqueness, so we're just going to go be grotesque. So they're out there. They don't even know which bathroom to go to. They don't even know that it's only women who can have babies. I mean, they don't know what a woman is now, except when they want to use it as a means for securing abortion, because apparently they still know that women have abortions, right? But no, they're even saying pregnant people have abortions, but not necessarily women, right? So now men are getting abortions, right? That's how insane this world is. And I it's because It's because they're just openly what you are inwardly. But all of you are gross. All of you are perverse. And when I say perverse, I don't mean like you like the opposite sex. That's normal. That's good. That should happen. You're supposed to like the opposite sex. I'm talking about you're gross in your sensitivity towards those who are helpless. You're grotesque in your sensitivity towards those who have less, who are less. So you just ignore it as a Christian, but as the left, they go out and because they're trying to reject you, they go out there and they make a pretense of, oh, let's all help the poor and the downtrodden. But because they didn't care about truth, the poor and the downtrodden is just these stupid, meaningless concepts. And it's always something like, a woman who wants to end her own child is a poor, helpless person who needs my money to help them do that. All the meanwhile, they want to give you Social Security and pretend like Social Security is a social program that's going to help you when you're old. But for a lot of people, it's going to leave them impoverished and unable to have health care because your Medicare card at the time doesn't even cover anything. And what you have left isn't even enough to buy a supplemental program, much less pay rent and buy food. And from my understanding, when somebody retires, they also like to eat. I haven't retired yet. I still got a while, but I think I'm going to want to eat. But you're going to pretend on the left like that's some sort of compassion. But you wouldn't lift a finger on yourself to help that person. You hate the Christian who just says it in symbolic language and says how you're supposed to love everybody, but doesn't do anything. So you come out with a retarded concept of how to help somebody and don't lift a finger on your own to do it. It's unbelievable. And then you ignore it and you just fight with people when they say, this isn't working. I can't pay for food. And you just pretend like you've done something amazing. What really amazes me is that people think that because a group of corrupt people that run a healthcare industry, okay, they're corrupt because they're private, but the same people are the billionaires. You understand, the billionaires that run these companies. These are the people who can afford to run for Congress and can run for Senate, and then they get to control your private healthcare industry. And somehow you think those exact same people that you just said you didn't want to run your private industry is now running your public healthcare industry, and somehow now they're full of compassion and love, and they're going to make sure that you're taken care of. Well, look around you. Are our seniors being taken care of with Social Security? Do they have a sufficient healthcare plan? No. Medicare is a joke. It doesn't pay for much. And if you have any kind of a rent at all, you're not going to be able to afford it on Social Security in most cases. You'll never be able to afford that supplementary health care. So your your pretend compassion is no better than those people that you rebel against. Both sides are in that matrix box. And there's the matrix, mother, the womb, right? That's why the movie is called The Matrix, right? But really, the word is talking about the womb. Use Bible language. The Matrix is talked about during childbirth, and it's literally the womb. Okay, so we're talking about how it's disgusting what Christians don't care about truth. They don't care about justice, and they haven't for a long time. So the left looks at them and they go openly towards what they see in Christians. Okay. The real truth is really in their heart. They just go out and they just declare openly that we're just going to be that way. We're not just going to pretend like we really care about justice or whatever. We're just going to go out. We're just going to be disgusting and pervert, and we're going to kill whoever gets in our way, and we're going to become coarse and more grotesque day by day, and just do whatever the heck we want. Right? Do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Right? Said in and Anton LaVey. Right? Or was that that was the guy on the Sergeant Pepper album, George Bush's mother's father, Aleister Crowley. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So do as thou wilt. So they're just doing exactly what you're doing. You hide it, but they see it. If you cared about truth, whenever anybody mentions that somebody is seeking justice, like Julia, justice for Julia here in Parkersburg, you'll step up and say, "How can I help?" I tried to help, and the woman was so stupid that she rejected my help because she thought I was attacking her or something. But I was just trying my best to find out what happened. I hadn't developed my idea completely, but I was trying to figure it out. And she got mad, so I just left her alone. Okay, well, if that happens, just leave them alone. But you should care and that makes me suspect, the motives, but or question the motives, I should say. I should say suspect. Makes me question the motives of anybody that says they're seeking justice and they turn away anybody who's trying to find it. While of course they're telling their story all over the radio and stuff, and other people are making money doing it. And I don't want money. I just want to find the truth. I want to find the murderers, And anytime you hear somebody that has been murdered, step up, quit running. Something in you has to have compassion. When you see somebody that really is disabled, step up, have compassion. Okay. Well, I am so tired of this generation. I'm so tired of the people around me, left and right, being just as ridiculous and calloused and careless. And that's why we had 60 million children slaughtered, dismembered, and destroyed in the womb. Some of them born alive and left to die. I couldn't do that to a cat. I couldn't do it to a cat. I couldn't do that to a bird. I mean, that it's so terrible. And I'm not against like hunting. But I don't like it because I don't want to kill anything. But I understand it has to be done. I understand there's times like that where because we all have to eat. Okay. But I would never torture. I would never pull something apart. What you people do is disgusting. You'll take a baby and rip it limb from limb, crack open its skull. And all I can say is, how do you live with yourself? How do you look in the mirror? And some women, they can't. And good, because you don't deserve to be happy for a really long time if you did that. You should suffer. You should understand that you made somebody hurt. You should understand that you ripped somebody's opportunity for 60, 70, or 80 years away. Just like when somebody goes to jail and they have to think about what they did, you should hurt. But what I hear is a bunch of pretentious nonsense on the news. I hear these fake women just pretending like they're so hurt that women aren't going to get health care. And of course, that right there is a clue that their tears are fake, because you're not there to get health care like from a doctor, like somebody who treats you for heart palpitation. No, you're not there for healthcare. You're there to kill somebody. You're going to a slaughter factory. You're going to where you're going to butcher what you think is an animal. You become gross. You become terrible. You need to hurt. But these pretentious liars, they come on there and they get on there and it's all about their narcissism. And because they themselves are now inconvenienced, that's really what they're crying about. They themselves are going to be inconvenienced now, or they're going to have to think before they act. They're going to have to use real compassion in their lives and decide whether or not somebody else gets to live, and they're going to have to exercise their heart muscles that they've never exercised before, and maybe put that compassion towards a human life, perhaps. And that breaks their heart, because that's all the kind of heart they have, is cold, callous, disgusting, wretched, nasty, filthy, vile gobbledygook inside. And so their tears, though they're pretentious and narcissistic, they're crying for themselves, because that's the only pain they know how to feel. You understand that? So when you see these people on CNN, these women crying over the loss of their right to murder, they're an animal. They're narcissistic. People think I am narcissistic, and I have a little bit of narcissistic tendencies at a time. But because I know myself, done personality test, studied myself, studied personality, I'm aware, and I at least understand what I'm doing when I do it. Sometimes I do it on purpose, knowing full well exactly what I'm doing. It's not like this. True narcissism, you don't know. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you are. It's kind of like when somebody has real bad personality disorder, and they've got split personalities, and one person one of their split personalities acts one time, and then the other person's personality acts another time. When they're in that personality, they don't know the other personality exists a lot of times, yet the two personalities don't know each other. And you narcissists, real genuine narcissists, you don't know, they don't know they are. Most people don't know themselves, they don't study themselves, just like they don't really study anything. And so they have no compassion except for themselves. Um, I'm not shocked anymore. I'm disgusted by all of you. I'm disgusted because I know some of the people that probably jumped on here. You heard a little bit of truth and you ran away right away because it hurt you a little bit. You should get hurt a little bit. You need to feel something for once. You got offended. You should be offended. Do I get to kill you because do I get to end you because you remind me of somebody who attacked me? Can I apply that to you? Can your ex apply that to you? You made his life difficult. Maybe you took away his opportunity to go to college. Can he end you for that? Can he destroy you for that? But you think you get the right to destroy some other person because that person maybe took away your opportunities in your mind. You bear no responsibility for it whatsoever, do you? It just all happened all by itself, didn't it? Where's your soul? I mean, and I don't even necessarily mean your eternal soul. I just mean your heart, your humanity. Where's that little spark of divinity in you? I don't think it exists anymore. I remember when I was a kid, take a magnifying glass and use the sun and like kill ants and stuff. If it was anything bigger than an ant, I felt bad. I was like, I shouldn't do that, you know? Maybe I'd kill a small caterpillar or something with it. I thought, man, I shouldn't do that, because I felt like I was going a bad direction in my life. But you can do way worse things to something that maybe can feel, most of the time can. And even if it's not yet, that life will be able to feel soon. And you're taking away 70, 80, 90, 100 years of its experience. For this topic, I don't give them enough credit, and I like to mess with them. But my own brother and his wife, their baby was born with serious serious birth defects is what I'm trying to say. And you know, they brought that baby into this world and took care of it as long as they could. That's the kind of compassion that every human being should have. Your own child should get to see your face, and if they can't see it, feel your face or hear your voice at least once. If that's the only experience that child gets, not a good quality of life. Can I use that reasoning for you? If you don't have a good quality of life, can I end you? If your quality of life changes tomorrow, can I end you? Can I rip you limb from limb? Back in the old days, criminals, they would tie them to horses, 4 different horses. It's called drawn and quartered. They tie your arms to 2 horses and your legs individually to 2 horses, and then hit the horses and make them run and just rip your arms off. You say that's barbaric. That's horrible. How could anybody be that way? Well, 60 million people in this country have done that, or probably 35 million. 60 some million babies have died like that. And you don't shed a tear. You're not moved. You're not hurt by that. All around this nation, born children have been murdered, like the Oakland County child killings. And some of my own relatives told me, why should I care? Told me straight up, why should I care? It doesn't affect me. And I'm just floored. How? What do you mean you don't care about innocent children being killed? How can you call yourself a human being at that point? I lose a lot of respect. I lose all respect for just saying you don't care about murdered children. And these are ones that were already born right there in his own state. Right there in Michigan, you had children that were dismembered and thrown in ditches for decades, called the Oakland County child murders. It's not just the ones they say in the news now. They went on for decades. He was part of that. They took him and killed his brother and dumped his brother's body in a field in Pennsylvania, and they wrote a book about it and addressed it to him very subtly to Mr. H right there in the book. And the police helped them all do it. And you don't care. You don't care that police is corrupt in your state. You don't care that the government's corrupt in your state. You don't care that maybe if they could do that to somebody else, they could do that to somebody that you know. How did we get like this? How did we get this disgusting, this calloused? It's not all social engineering. It's not. The social engineering is a part of it, yeah, because they want to bring in their ideas and steal from you, so they have to demoralize you so that they can take what they want from you. But you let them do it because you don't care about truth. Truth is more important than anything else. Just truth and justice. And by the way, you never grant mercy or forgiveness until you've sought truth and justice. And then if a person truly, genuinely is sorry and tries to make amends and does all they can do physically, humanly to make amends for it, then you forgive. Not just because they say, I'm sorry. If they truly try to make amends, then forgiveness is always in order. But not until you have first sought justice, not until you have first wanted truth. And you can't find justice until you care about truth, because there is no justice without truth. These are basic principles, but they're devoid of application in this country. There is no one in this country who's living for truth, who cares about justice. Our police force in every state is corrupt at some level, selling drugs for the CIA, and you don't care. You don't care about truth. But we have a person right now, Hugh Squier, who will testify, who would go to Congress and puts a lot of them in jail with his testimony. Do you understand that? If you'd back him, if you'd tell the story, if you'd get the truth out, if you cared about murders, you're going to pretend that you're religious and you care about aborted babies. You don't. You are lying because you don't care about murdered women who are adults, and you don't care about murdered children now that are, and you have an opportunity to do something about it, and you don't. Don't tell me you care about unborn babies. You're doing that because you care what other people think about you. And that's who you really are. Doesn't matter what other people think. about you. It matters what you really are. It matters what you really do, because what you really do is what you really are. You understand that? And this doesn't have to be religious at all, because I'm telling you, religion makes people hide and lie about things and make a show and a pretense of everything that the other side just rejects and then embraces openly. The truth is apart from either side, from either wing, and very few people know it. Do you really believe that Bible? Because the Bible says, straight is the gate and narrow is the way, and few there be that find it. Do you take that literally? Maybe you should. Maybe that's the one verse in the Bible you should take completely literally. A few. Maybe there's 3 people that know the truth. I know Hugh knows the truth. I know that. I've never met anybody in my life that is more connected to reality than Hugh Squier. Nobody. I don't know a soul, because he's just about seen it all and been through it all and has suffered a lot for it. And unlike the abortionist, he hasn't retaliated and gone against innocent life for it like you have. And he's been through way more inconvenience than you have. I promise you that. If you cared about truth, you'd go find out and you'd understand the story. You'd try to find justice for him. Don't tell me you care about aborted babies and you don't care about finding justice for a person who's been through as much as Hugh has. You care that his 4 wives were literally killed by the government that represents you too. And if they can do that to him, don't you think they could do that to you or somebody you love? And you're going to tell me it doesn't matter? You don't care? Yeah, you better care, because it's your country. And our founder said that you are more powerful than the federal government. The power starts at the bottom and works its way up to the top. You see, the president and the Congress and the Senate, they're supposed to be the least powerful part of government. You and the local, they're supposed to be the most powerful. But if you don't care about justice for your neighbors when they're being killed by the government at the top, the weak part of government is overarching and coming after its own citizens, and you just ignore it. And you're going to pretentiously tell me that you love God. You're a liar. You don't care about God. You care about what people think about you. And so the left just looks at you and they go 180 degrees the opposite way. And we have polar opposites in this country, and that's why. Now, it's real easy to see the disgusting way that the left has gone when they get there, and we can see that they've gone and done the wrong way. But the reason they're doing it is because that's what you are too. They just do it. They just embrace it openly. Both are disgusting. Both are wrong. And the way that you're just as wrong and immoral and disgusting is when you don't care now about murdered women and children who are alive, already born, I should say, that are alive and in front of you, and you don't care about them being murdered by your government or by bikers, and you don't put in the effort to go and seek justice for those people. If you don't care about them, then how dare you say you care about an unborn baby? Because it's real easy just to say things. And everybody around you just looks at you and oh, you're pro-life, you're such a good person. But the left looks at you and they say, I've never seen you do anything to go find justice. So they just go run out and they just go board whatever they want. And they say, well, we're just doing what you really did. You see, this is where truth matters. This is where wisdom and justice matters more than anything. You see, even think about what you claim to know about God for a second, right? And really think about it. God never forgives anybody until he's condemned them first. Oh, don't judge anybody. Well, don't be like God, because God's already condemned you first. Remember, you're condemned already if you have not the Son. Remember that in John? He's condemned you. He's passed judgment on you, and he sought justice. Do you understand that? If you're not seeking justice right now for people around you who have been murdered, if you don't care about adult women and children that are murdered around you, don't lie and tell yourself you care about abortion. You don't. Because they're one and the same. And really caring about something you can do something about in your neighborhood, in your country, by helping somebody like Hugh find justice for his murdered wives, for the murdered Oakland County children, for the murder of a president, Kennedy. All of these things are involved around his life, and you could do something about it, and you don't. But you don't even care enough to look into it, try to understand it enough for it to make sense. And you're going to lie and say you care? You're pro-life, huh? People are dying in your hospitals, but you don't care, huh? Government servants are paying for deaths and covering it up in the media, but you don't care. Just like when Biden went to Pennsylvania and he was seeking that $40 billion for the infrastructure, and a bridge just happens to collapse the exact day he gets there. Yeah, it's just coincidence, right? I mean, our government is so corrupt. When are you going to care? When are you going to do something? When are you going to search for truth? I mean, oh, Notre Dame burns down, and Michelle Obama just happens to be in a boat on the Seine River as Notre Dame burns, and she's wearing a necklace that says burning while President Trump is over in Burnsville, Wisconsin. I mean, at the same time, right? It's just coincidence. Your country is corrupt and wicked and disgusting as can be. If you care about justice, do something about it. Expose it. Start by caring about the people who have the least to give you. Just like Jesus said, imagine that. Imagine if you actually did it. The left wouldn't have anything to rebel from again then, would they? Because you'd already be meeting the needs that they think their social programs can fix, which they can't. That's baloney. And they just want to do what you do. Just they want to rebel against you because they see you're fake. So they go create a social program that doesn't work, just like everything you did in church doesn't work because you don't really do anything. You just ignore the people around you who are mentally disabled or who are deaf or who are blind or seek justice for murders in their lives. There's a lot of people killed in this country, and it's time we start defending them. And not just black people. Yeah, them too. But it's time we defend all people who are murdered. Most of these police murders, these are FBI and CIA stings all the time. All the time. So the abortion protester was supposedly killed by a person driving a truck today. It was in the news today. And the person driving the truck was Walker. Oh, Walker runs the CIA. I told my wife yesterday they were going to do something like that today. There it is. There's Walker runs the CIA. And they just happen to have a film on when this happened. Man, they do this every freaking day. They kill people in your own country, all around you. Thousands and thousands of people are murdered by this government. And you don't seek the truth to know what's really going on. The stories related to Hugh Squier's story, so that you can combat them effectively. So you can put these people behind bars because they've been killing dozens and dozens and even hundreds of people for decades. You don't understand what the Parkland shooting was about? Well, where the frick was Kennedy taken when he was shot? The Parkland Hospital. So there's Parkland, right? And all the names and all the numbers around that just match everything that went with Kennedy. And we prove this over and over again through all kinds of shootings. Oh, and even the students, they're like, yeah, we saw people in fatigues at our school shooting people. It wasn't just the one shooter. But nobody, we're just going to ignore that kid. We're just going to ignore the kid that said that. You understand your government's behind the shootings to try to get you disarmed. So your own government's killing people. Your own government killed all those people on 9/11. They're brutal and they're disgusting. Don't tell me you care about abortion, but you don't care about truth enough to learn this information. I realize I'm sort of pontificating, but this is coming from a good place. And if you know truth, you know Jesus always said, if you hear my voice, then you're of the truth, right? If what I'm saying resonates with you and you're going to join in and do something, you have some truth here in you. Those of you that shut me off after a few seconds, there's no truth in you. You don't care about murdered babies. You don't care about the people in your own neighborhood dying in your own hospitals because doctors and governments and the CIA are killing them all around you. And police are helping kill them. Running drugs. Your government runs the drugs. Your government stages the big attacks. Doesn't stage every attack. Okay, people do kill people. don't get ridiculous. Okay, there's 80 people killed in Chicago every freaking day almost anymore. The government's not behind all of them, but it's going to be behind some of them. And especially the big ones, the ones that make it in. That's why you don't hear about the ones in Chicago all the time, because the government didn't stage them. The ones you really hear about, it's usually the ones the government staged because they are paying, the White House is paying for the news story behind it. So it only makes sense that it has to go, right? Because whatever narrative they're trying to push, they're paying for it in advance. So I don't know. Maybe I should probably not leave this on YouTube, but probably I don't know. But I try to dance around Mr. Al G rhythm, and sometimes I can't do that. But so I may take it off there, but not like any onions are brave enough to call anyway and say, hey, man, some of this resonates with me. I'd like to get involved in seeking justice for Hugh, for the Oakland County children, for the wives that were murdered, for the drug trade crimes that are being propagated by the government in this country. I'd like to get involved. I want to help discover who the real killers of Kennedy are and how they're covered up in music and news media still, all these years later. And yeah, I want to get involved. I want to do something. I want to do something tangible and really be a part of fighting this corruption that's not just on the right or the left. It's on both sides and is being orchestrated and putting people in a box. And I want to get out of that box. Now, listen, over in other countries, they may have their own box of sorts. Like Islam is a certain type of box. But I'll tell you what, because they're in a different box than Americans, when I talk to Muslims, and I do talk to Muslims on YouTube and Facebook, and they understand the message because they're not in your box. You don't understand because you've been programmed and you don't know you're programmed. Just like we talked about earlier with the personalities. One personality and a person with personality disorder might not know that his other personality even exists, right? You're in a box and you don't know your government's put you in a box because you can't see the walls and you don't know what you don't know. There is so much more reality and truth out there if you'll seek it and be willing to learn it and seek it with all your mind. And don't think, hey, I know something now, and just run with one thing and never learn anything again. A lot of people convert from the left to the right or the right to the left, from non-religion to religion, from religion to non-religion. They always go 180 degrees. They say, hey, I found it. Eureka, I found it. And they never learn anything again. Oh, well, where are they? Now they're in the same box. They're just on the other side of the box. But they're still in the matrix. Instead of the right side of the box, they're on the left side of the box. But they're still in that box. You have to learn this from somebody that's been through as much as Hugh has to ever know that you're in a box to begin with and what that box kind of looks like from the outside. Because there's only a few people who've been outside of it. What is that? Plato's cave? Like The one guy gets out of the cave and then he tries to come back and tell the other people that are still in the cave what outside the cave's like, and none of them believe him. That's that's way truer than you could possibly imagine. And I don't want money. Hugh doesn't want money. Nobody's seeking money. Nobody wants your money. We're not going to ask for your money. We just care that our country has gone to trash, and nobody cares about murders. Isn't that fair enough to implore people to care about finding justice for people who've been killed? Is that too much to ask? Apparently. It's a whole lot of people have already come and gone and turned me off real quick. Our nation stands no chance of ever recovering if we never learn who took it from us and what they were doing and why. And as long as you continue to blame the ambiguous Illuminati that doesn't even exist, you're going to stay in that freaking box. As long as you keep saying the Freemasons did it, you're going to stay in that box forever. Pretty soon you're going to say aliens exist and aliens have been creating something with our country. I guarantee you there's already too many people believe that, but just get that, those numbers are going to increase greatly because nobody cares about real truth. Nobody's trying to find it. And it is sad. And this is why there's no compassion anywhere. Because finding real truth just automatically makes you more compassionate. Because you say nobody's doing anything about this. My God, what am I doing with my life? People are killed and everybody's callous. So you start to see the callousness around you and you go, wow, the left is callous to it. The right is callous to it. Oh my gosh, who's going to do something? Who's going to stand up? I just want to see a world where people give a hoot about things going on in their own community enough to seek truth. I need people to motivate me and help me remember things and organize things better to be like, hey, let's go to that board meeting, the school board meeting. Let's go to that city meeting and let's address these concerns. And I think it's sad that sometimes even I'll go to the polling place like I did this last time, and I didn't even know who was running. I started looking at the signs. I started Googling them real fast. I said, oh, man, I really didn't do my homework. I try to make the best decision I can in the last 10 minutes before I go vote. It shouldn't be that way. So I'm blaming myself too, okay? Not just blaming everybody else. But it matters that we take time to get control back at the local level. But before you can even go to the local level, you have to care about truth inside your own heart. Truth will lead you to things like what I write on my board in my videos. When you'll say, I know I learned for 30 years at Bible college and growing up in Sunday school that the Bible is perfectly literal, but somebody's saying that there's some information I missed. Maybe I should look at that. And then you go, oh, Lord Jesus Christ is, 3168, just like the perimeter of the earth. Oh my gosh. That's profound. And then, man, I tell you, I went to the mounds and I showed you how they had the same mathematical concepts built into mounds right here in my hometown in Marietta. Game over, guys. I'm not making this stuff up. I found truth. I found some reality. And I'm not going to hold on to just that one story and see like there's no more information that I can learn. Maybe there's even more about reality than I can possibly know. And maybe I'll learn it someday. So I'm always going to stay open. But what I don't want to do is just run to one extreme or the other, one political extreme or the other. I'm tired of seeing people just, okay, I hated my atheist parents, so I'm rejecting my atheist parents, so I'm going to become a Christian, and I become a fundamentalist. And you're still in the same box. You're still constructing the same thing inside that little box, the same reality that we've had for 200 years. Okay, and you're still being owned by foreign governments that understand what's going on way better than you do and have been at this programming for thousands of years. And they know how to own you. It's the same families that have kept all the world in a box. And I'm not talking about the bloodlines and the Illuminati. Those people don't exist. I'm talking about the people who write the books. I'm talking about the people who write your history books today. I'm talking about the people that run your governments, real politicians, real kings and queens, real elected officials, real people. And we do more than just stay in the ambiguous. We name names. All right. In many cases, Senator Graham, for example, that everybody thinks is so wonderful. And we tell you about Senator Graham's and Graham's media, and Barr, who was with Trump. We go through the Baker name for the last 150 years, and we tell you, who is this? In the Walker family, and why are these names just repeating for hundreds of years in this country? They're the same people, and they work for the same powers outside of your country, in England, and for the throne. And now with and now in tandem also with Israel, right? Are the Muslims right about that? Yeah, the Muslims are right about that part. Israel is the purpose of it, and what it's for is theft. And that's why 9/11 happened. It's about theft, and it's about hiding theft. At the end of the day, at the bottom line, it's literally about hiding the bottom line. I'm not talking about an accounting term either, because that accounting term didn't exist until it was put in the dictionary as an accounting term to hide its real definition, which was a stolen trademark that Hugh invented all the way back in the 60s. When is this country going to learn any real truth? The news stories are so fabricated and so obviously fabricated every single day that anybody should be able to see it. And if you cared about truth enough, you'd learn how to know that they're fabricated and understand who's paying for it and why. It's the White House paying for this with your money. Well, I like to think and hope that somebody's listening and cares about what I'm saying. Not one comment. I'm amazed. Just amazed. I mean, the most spectacular things happen, and the big boots off our neck, that oppression of tyranny where 9 people get to decide for an entire nation how everything is going to go, and has caused the destruction of 60 million lives, and none of you have anything to say about it. It's unreal. 60 million people dead, and it's still going to continue because there's all these states that still are allowing it, and we're not gonna do anything in a lot of these states. We're not gonna have the power to, because nobody cares about truth, and that's the real bottom line, if you will. You ever notice on the news media that they constantly say the word bottom line? All the time. I mean, just listen to Fox News. And it's not just Fox News. They literally call some of their programs on NBC now has the bottom line. And it used to be on another channel. They called it the bottom line. They say the word bottom line over and over and over and over because they're bragging about how they stole a trademark and made so much of it by designing your reality around you. And you're completely unaware of it. And so they brag about it every freaking day. What a country we live in. Millions more people are going to die. Nobody's going to care about truth. And maybe they'll come back because the people that you're turning off by not really caring about truth, just pretending to, by being religious, though they're gonna take over Congress with enough power one day, and they're just going to pass a national law. And so for the next 50 years, they're going to, or if you keep pretending to be religious and they keep rebelling against you, then they'll get enough power to make a constitutional amendment someday. Then what are you going to do? Then we're going to have unfettered abortion like never before for the rest of eternity. I mean, if you don't start caring about the murders in your own hospitals, you can't, under this system that your government, that your founders gave you, where you're the most powerful part of your government, if you're not doing your part to stop that because you care about truth and you're exposing the real things going on right there in your own neighborhood, this is going to happen. Your own neighbors are going to, your own kids are all going to look at you and say, I reject it. I reject you is what they're really saying. I reject your hypocrisy. They might say they love you the rest of their life, but look at this country. It is polarized for a reason. And it's polarized because people can't stand fakeness. They can't stand people that just pretend all the time, but they don't know how to do anything else. So they just go to the opposite extreme and they pretend over there. And that's what's going on. The pretend that your kid hates you because you made him go to church and he heard sermons he didn't like, but you really didn't care about truth because when murders were going on in your own neighborhood, you didn't do anything about it. You didn't talk about it. You didn't search for truth more than anything else. You didn't search for justice more than anything else. You didn't participate in trying to help people who were disabled in your own neighborhood. So they rejected you and they went to the other side and they just pretend, and they didn't know how to do truth. So now they're going over there and they're making social programs and stealing all the money in the social programs because it's really still all about them. But they said, hey, maybe we can do something at least helps a little bit with some people, but it's really still about us, isn't it? But we can steal even more money, and maybe they just hide better over there than you do in your church because they can hide behind a government and really hide. Because how are you going to point to an individual who's at fault when you're inside a bureaucracy that employs 10,000 people for some government bureaucracy? Oh, you can hide and steal money like crazy. Then they're just doing exactly what you do at church. You don't care about truth either. And that's why this is why people think that government can run healthcare using the same billionaires that are running the private healthcare now, but they're going to be compassionate and loving when they go over there and they win an election instead of run a corporation. And now maybe they even run the corporation and are an elected official, but now they run your healthcare as an elected official, and they're going to have compassion on you, and they're going to make sure that you get your heart surgery when you're old, and your cancer funds to take care of your cancer when you're old, and you'll never see it if they're given enough power. Oh, well, how do you know? Well, did they provide it when you had it as private? No. Having a little bit of wisdom, at least as a private insurance, at least you can dump them and go get another healthcare company, and at least that healthcare company has to at least attract customers, or it goes out of business, doesn't it? Let's see who's there. Oh, it's Hugh. How you doing, Hugh? Let's see. Is this?
Oh, not bad. I'm listening to you talk about me.
Okay. Oh, okay. You're one of the two people on there.
I'm listening to you talk about me.
Okay. Oh, okay. You're one of the two people on there.
I'm listening to you talk about me.
I wonder why it's that. You're one of the two.
I turned off Facebook because it was echoing.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's echoing on your end. Okay. So
I just tuned in and I heard you were talking about my trademark bottom line they stole.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really stole it, $2 trillion. And they stole my inheritance and they stole my name. And then they murdered people all around me for 70 years. Murdered.
Yeah, not just a few either. Just a few. Like
hundreds. It was millions when it came down to 9/11. It was 2 million overnight.
Yeah.
And 9/11 was about hiding my civil rights case in the Pentagon and hiding the theft in the Twin Towers.
I can't imagine how anybody can say that they have compassion on the unborn, but they don't care about the people in front of them. That tells me that what they're pretending to care about is just pretentious. That it's all about
It's
how
all
I look.
up for churches, so they can go to church, they can do business with people in the well aware of that because I took care of family, mother, and I would carry them into churches and everybody hug them and love them. But in 30 years' time that I took care of them, not one person ever called or knocked on their door and said hello to them. Only
Yeah,
in church. They all
yeah,
loved only
yeah. I
in
mentioned
church.
that about Victoria and how you took her there to that. What was it, Church of Christ, I think, and
United Methodist Church of
United
Christ,
Methodist.
yeah.
Thank you. See, I I get details wrong.
With
Yeah,
Disney,
United Methodist. I have
and
a picture.
Bush, George Bush, Disney, James Taylor, they're all Methodists. They all went to the Methodist church.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, just
And
like
my publishing company
Bush.
ran the music for that Methodist church. I would publish Disney and sing the songs with James Taylor. And the presidents and government in this country stole my publishing license, stole my name, and then they blew up the Twin Towers to hide the theft. And it was no small theft. It was 28,000 worldwide entertainment contracts. And there's no lie in this at all.
Yeah, and what they did with it.
And all media pretends I don't exist, as all media uses my name, my trademark, covers up the murders of dozens and dozens of raped and murdered kids in my life, starting with the Duncan kids and Timmy King in Oakland County. And then they murdered my whole family. They murdered my entire family 5 times. And they called all those murders natural causes or suicides. And it's all lies. And the entire country is in on this. Every mainstream media, CNN, ABC, NBC, WXYZ, CBS, all of them, Fox, all of these media corporations hide my truth of my entire family being murdered 5 times. And I'm related to all the presidents on the United States money. Mm-hmm. It's just unbelievable. And they all call themselves Christians as they murder women and kids.
Well, when we as the people at the bottom who are actually the people at the top, according to the founders, we're supposed to have all the power. If we don't care about this and do something about it.
Well, I have a lot of power now because I'm never going to. And they really murdered my wives, and you've seen the proof of that. Mm-hmm. I had the military come from CBS and murder 2 of my wives and my attorney right on my property. That's so illegal and against the Constitution. That's a $1 billion lawsuit against CBS. And I can't get an attorney to help me because every attorney in the country studied out of my stolen trademark, bottom line. And that's because of Weiner and Associates and the Clintons.
Nope. I think he lost connection. You lost connection there. Looks like you're back. Oh, wait a minute. I got to re-hit it. Hit it.
There.
Back here.
Yeah, I'll just let it go back to you. Everything you're saying is truth, and nobody helps me. 70 years of murders, dismembered kids, dismembered women. One of my wives, her throat was slit. Another one was hung on her dog's leash. Another one had her leg cut off and was murdered on the day they let the Bundys out of jail. And all of this is murder. And I don't think it, I know it.
If all of the United States corruption could hinge on one point, I feel like the closest anybody could get would be to know your story, because I feel like so much of it hinges just on that one life that and all these things that have gone on in your life, because it's right at the middle of so much of the corruption. And that's why it's just super important that people start caring enough.
It's the gay political party. The gay political party attacked me at birth.
Yeah, a bunch. They were gays, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's not my fault they want to have a gay political party. For them to attack me at birth so they can have power in this country, it's just absurd.
Yeah.
It tells you what type of people they are. They murdered kids for 70 years all around me. Nobody went to jail.
And it
Now
seems the
they have
Queen
gay,
used the
now they
gays to
have gay
steal.
parades, but they have gay parades everywhere, and you have gay governors and gay senators telling everyone that they don't hurt anybody, and that's the biggest lie there ever was. I have dozens and dozens and hundreds and millions of people murdered by the gay political party.
Hmm.
And there's no lie in this.
No, not at all.
So you
Yeah, I
have a
see
good
that
time.
around.
I started editing the book you wrote about me,
Hmm.
and you did a really good job. And the book will be out there; anybody can read it, and it's 100% truth. I owned a ministry, and Greg went to a church to become a ministry, or a college, I mean. And I owned the property Baker College was built on at birth.
Hmm.
My family authored the Bible. King James is my cousin.
Yeah, I was
Greg,
mentioning Baker and how that's
I,
such a prominent
I
name.
find it amazing that every president that gets elected, they run to my cousin, the Queen in England. And I'm related to all the kings of Europe via Admiral Byrd, all of them. And I'm never allowed on any media as they dismember and murder kids and women all around me for 70 years. But they all run to my cousin, the Queen, to collect payola.
Hmm.
That's what it's all about. Rupert Murdoch in London on Hugh Squier Avenue. He likes to run Fox News.
Yeah, so the Queen's about stealing as much money as they can, and yeah, and
The whole Senate hands her copper mines and mineral rights to American property that they don't even own, that they stole from Indians. It's just amazing. And they hide behind she's our ally, and no, she's not our ally. She knights the people who bring you drugs, like the Beatles, Haight Ashbury, and she knights the people who murder your presidents,
it's
like the
not a very
Kennedy.
good friend at all. Right.
No, she's not a friend at all. My family rebelled against our own cousins to create America. And all the presidents forgot that because they all collect payola from London, all of them. And they've been collecting payola from the actors in Ukraine and selling enriched uranium to Ukraine. And now you have a war that might become a world war because of payola. It's corrupt senators and House and presidents collecting
This thing's really
payola.
gotten out of hand and has expanded all around the world. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
and it's
How
terrible,
big
and
it's gotten.
nobody even knows what's going on.
And
Everybody
that's why
looks
it's
the
so
other way.
important at the local level that people care.
Everybody looks the other way, and nobody cares. I had a dozen kids dismembered and murdered and raped, and not a single person in jail. And for 70 years, not a single person has helped me, including state police and regular police.
Yeah, if even
The
the people
police are
in
part of the murders.
if even the people in that church that you went to would have cared enough just about Vicky to just do something that probably
No,
9/11
nobody
wouldn't have
cares
happened.
anywhere. No one cares anywhere about murders of American citizens by the government. They think my wife in a wheelchair with muscular dystrophy was a criminal. That's the first
Right.
thing I get from anybody I tell. The White House murdered my wives. Oh, they must have been criminals. No, they weren't. One of them created the Head Start program, and her sister was running to be president with John McCain. Another one was in a wheelchair with muscular dystrophy her entire life, and she worked at Kmart's to support herself. She crawled into Kmart's to support herself. That's hardly a criminal. They cut her body parts off and slit her throat Halloween Day. All of my wives were murdered on a holiday. Just that should tell any sane person something is not correct.
Something's not right. Yeah.
I have a wife murdered on Christmas, a wife murdered on July 4th, my birthday, a wife murdered on Halloween Day, a wife murdered on the day they let the Bundys out of prison. I have kids murdered as I sat in L. Brooks Patterson's office. And L. Brooks Patterson refused to take a truthful report about who killed the kids in Oakland County. His entire office tried to put me in jail. And then 3 kids in my family were murdered as I sat in his office in Oakland County in 2015 or 16. It's just
That sort of
unbelievable.
callous, not caring about this going on in people's own neighborhoods is
No,
why
they don't care about anything. And they
why
think that
things
President,
got so bad. We've had 60 million dead babies in this country.
they can't even put the truth together that you got President Ford after Nixon and his real name was King, and they threw Timmy King's body on my properties.
Right.
They're not even intelligent enough to see that these are government hit jobs on little kids. And when I say it, they think I'm lying to them. And I'm not, you know yourself, you researched everything I say. You know I'm not lying.
Oh, they make it so conspicuous. I don't see how anybody can't see this thing.
You've known me 4 or 5 years. Have you ever caught me lying to you?
You didn't hear me earlier. You must come on too late. But now I was saying you're literally the only person I know that's sane.
Yeah, you've been a good friend, and you were introduced to me by the Ward family. And the last time I saw the Ward family before they introduced me to you, they sent 30 lawyers after me in a courtroom in Michigan because someone tried to murder me. I had to not work for 6 months. I couldn't pay my bills. I had 7 kids I was supporting. So I had to file bankruptcy. And the Ward family sent 30 lawyers after me for $400.
Yeah, $400. Can you imagine that?
And then that same family, the Ward family, introduced me to you, knowing that I'm saying the truth. And the judge laughed at Montgomery Ward's and the 30 attorneys. 30 corporate attorneys attacked me for a few $100s. After someone tried to murder me. 2 doctors attempted to murder me, and they weren't my doctors. They were doctors introduced to me by people who have murdered my wives.
Yeah.
One was Pastor Nick, and I believe it was Bruce Springsteen sang about Pastor Nick right in my stolen trademark in New York, The Bottom Line. Joe DiMaggio and Pastor Nick. And in my family, Marilyn Monroe is my cousin.
We've chronicled a few of the songs where they've marked a lot of these murders in music.
And nobody helps. Nobody helps me. My attorneys have been murdered. 2 of my judges in my cases have been murdered. And not a single media person has put anything in any newspaper, on any radio, or on any TV show. No news on hundreds of dismembered kids and women for 70 years, Greg. It's just unbelievable how
That's
criminal.
that's the biggest lack of justice story ever.
Yeah, how criminal this country is just unbelievable. Miller and Tony Tocco worked for me. George Knapp lied to me 5 or 6 times after my 3rd wife's murder, said he couldn't write about somebody that didn't have anything to do with Vegas. And I'm the truth of Jimmy Hoffa. What did he do? He put out a book about Jimmy Hoffa that's all BS.
Right. So you couldn't tell your story because you had to make money lying about Jimmy Hoffa.
Oh, but Gardner, Ava Gardner, and Frank Sinatra are my family members. Isn't that Vegas? My family wrote all the songs for Elvis. Isn't that Vegas? He couldn't write about me.
Yeah.
He can write about the Beatles in England. He can write about John Lear hiding me behind aliens at S4 at Area 51. My family built Area 51. There's no lie in this. They're hiding me. They're hiding the truth of the murders of hundreds of Americans in my life. Murdered by government servants. Murdered by police. And the media helps them cover up all the murders for 70 years now. I don't know.
The Gardner name, it's on the nuclear facilities, roads around it, and different buildings all over the country on big, huge things that helped make the Manhattan Project.
My last dismembered wife, her father was the mayor of East Detroit. Before Ted Nugent existed, as Ted Nugent existed. Ted Nugent's mother took me to the MC5 wedding. It's unbelievable how all media pretends I, an ASCAP publisher with a federal license, I don't exist, as they murder people all around me for 70 years.
Yeah, that's a lot to hide.
Unbelievable. I had dinner with Elvis Presley's publisher, with the Mills Brothers Publishing Company. I knew Dee Snider before Twisted Sister existed. My bass player, Tony de Blasio, he died of a heart attack. He was a decorated Vietnam soldier. A Russian man took his name and got elected right in New York where Tony was born. Tony de Blasio was born in Brooklyn, New York. A Russian man changed his name to his name as he died of a heart attack and became elected in New York. And they all hide the theft of my trademark, Bottomline, and my publishing, a worldwide federal publishing company in New York, ASCAP BMI. They all hide me.
Yeah, as they made the Bottomline bar there in New York, and
everybody's got a $20 bill in their pocket. That's my great-great-grandfather, Jackson, on it. It's unbelievable. And all media hides the truth of my life so they can use your tax dollars to create fake news. And that's what they're doing. They used to try to hire my advertising company, Bottomline Advertising and Publishing. They offered me millions of dollars to make fake news for them. I told them no. Mm-hmm. So Fox News and CNN and CBS, they're making the fake news for the government using your tax
what
dollars.
I said, right?
There's no lie in this.
It makes perfect sense in light of all this.
Nobody can call me a theory. I owned a federal worldwide publishing license with a worldwide advertising company. They came to me to make fake news. I also taught Abrams Tank Plant employees electronics when I was 14. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable, Greg, how criminal our White House and Senate are, and the House. I was working with every Kennedy family member. I was working with John. I was working with John Denver. I was working with John F. Kennedy, as he said to you Tribune publishers. I was on the front page of the Tribune, and I was a ASCAP BMI New York publisher worldwide. He was murdered 5 minutes later. I was working with his brother Ted. I was working with his brother Bobby. In sessions of Congress, we changed the Berne Convention. I'm a real person. A real person, and they all ignore me. They all pretend I don't exist. Even the musicians
stop talking to you.
Even the musicians in my Detroit Local 5. In Detroit, who do you get from Detroit? You get the B-52s, the Ramones. You get all of them. Ted Nugent. Ike Turner used to change the tires on my semi-truck. Tina Turner's husband. I took Evans to play with the Beatles and Tom Petty at Apple Records. I was their publisher, and everybody pretends I don't exist. After they stole my publishing company, my first and last and middle names, the Pope took my middle name, Francis. And gee, I'm Catholic. You got Huey Lewis in the news. Gee, I had the biggest Detroit newspaper route from all the way back when Scripps Broadcasting owned it, and it was the Daily Times. It wasn't Detroit News, it was the Times. I had the largest newspaper route in Detroit. I don't exist. It's just unbelievable.
It's really hard for anybody to deny any of this.
This country is so, they can't deny me. All they can do is not provide me any news and keep murdering my family members. Well, I don't look for a girlfriend anymore. I don't try to be married.
Yeah.
I live alone, and I make videos with people like you. My story's being told all over the globe. I've been on TV all over Europe, but they won't allow me on TV in America. And I'm an American related to all the presidents on the money. Morgan, Chase, Grant, Hamilton, Jackson, all of them, Lincoln. They're all my family members. They all grew up with me, and I'm not allowed to speak on any news as they murder children around me. And nobody ever goes to jail. And you know this is truth, Greg.
Yeah, and it bothers my sense of justice to think that it's gone on this long and has grown so big, and you've been censored to the point that you have, and no one's done anything, and it's almost impossible not to fix the whole situation, but to even care.
One of the best bands in Detroit. We played nonstop for 30 years under contract, got paid lots of money. I was on the radio, and I don't exist. I played with Bob Seger. I played with Ted Nugent. I played with Wayne Newton's band. Frank Sinatra is my family member, and I don't exist. Yeah, J.C. Hurd, the best drummer, black drummer on earth, was my friend. I grew up with him, playing drums with him, and I don't exist. It's just unbelievable. I played at Ted Nugent's iRock, and I don't exist. I played at every major club in Detroit. I don't exist. I'm in the Pontiac and Detroit Musicians Union all my life. I don't exist. I don't exist. So they can hide the murders of women and kids. Yeah. And steal your tax dollars and give you fake news. And that's what they've been doing my entire life. And I turned 69 this July 4th. Who was Clara Harris, Greg?
That's the girl with Lincoln at Ford's Theater.
He was her guest, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And who ran?
She and her fiance, Rathbone.
Yeah, and who ran Ford's mansion in Detroit, Greg?
He was your uncle.
Yeah. And there's a country squire. My name's right on a Ford car, but I don't exist.
Right.
I don't exist, and I'm not newsworthy.
And Squire guitar. Yeah.
They all go visit my cousin, the Queen, and we defeated our cousin, King George, to create America. My family authored the Declaration and the Bill of Rights, signed it, ratified it, and I'm not newsworthy.
And they've been attacking this country since they've done that.
My family member is Admiral Byrd. Mm-hmm. And there's no fake diary. There's no secret diary. This is all to hide me behind aliens and UFOs for a lifetime, so they can steal everybody's tax dollars, get payola from the Queen, get payola from the Ukraine, get payola from China, and they hide the murders of Americans. The Constitution is supposed to protect me.
Yeah, you have letters signed by other members of Byrd's family. Obviously, he was dead, but he died the year that they kidnapped you. I know those two things are connected back in 57.
I was kidnapped on the day he was murdered, and they murdered
the same day. That's pretty amazing.
They murdered my twin on that day, and Mr. Pratt, who's in Hollywood now, his sons, all the people who murdered my family in Michigan back in 57, they're all on TV. And they murdered kids. They cut my father's hand off, Mr. Pratt and Mr. Behringer. They have a museum in Napa Valley. They make
Pratt
movies.
Behringer has museums. Darrell Hall
as Admiral Byrd was murdered. And 5 governors kidnapped me and beat my twin to death and dumped his body in a field. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable.
And wrote a book about I mentioned that.
They cover all this up with Coast to Coast. I worked in Michigan for the Biondo brothers. The Biondo brothers, they owned premier bowling alleys. They were hit over the heads with hammers, same as I was. They died. They lost premier network, trademark. You got Coast to Coast with Art Bell hiding me behind UFOs at S4. I was kidnapped at 4 in 57. And they've been hiding me and murdering kids and women all around me since 1953. It's unbelievable. And the police help them do it. The state police help them do it. The county police, Macomb County, Oakland County, they help them do it. I was alumni with James Garrison. I owned a Civil War ranch on Manning property. Manning and Garrison co-created the JFK archives, which are lies. All of my neighbors framed Oswald, who was dating Baker, and I'm the Baker family.
Mm-hmm.
Gardner, her mother was Mrs. Baker.
Yeah, see, I told you that Baker family's so important when I was talking earlier. Yeah, it's
and everybody denies I exist, and I'm the truth of who murdered your president, all his brothers, and even Sharice Kennedy.
It just so happens that Lafayette Baker investigated Lincoln's murder. Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm well aware. And because of Admiral Byrd, anybody can go to any library, look up his heritage, and you'll see I'm related to every king in Europe, not just London. Every country that had a king is related to me. And everybody gets elected president other than Kennedy, whom they murdered. Kennedy was talking right to me when they murdered him. I was on the front page of the Tribune, and I was a publisher. He started his speeches off saying, "To you Tribune publishers." And everybody denies I exist. I was detained for Jimmy Hoffa's murder. I'm not in any book. Tony Tocco and Miller, who wrote the books, worked for me at Shelby Service Center. I rented the factory with Del Carpus and Janet Barclay from Jack Ruby's trademark, the Carousel.
Right.
But I don't exist and I'm not newsworthy. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable, the cover-ups in this country. They get millions of dollars to give all Americans fake news, and then somebody who's real like me, whose family created America, I don't exist.
Right.
And this is all by design.
If somebody can, if it's understandable, like if somebody can't, the first time listening to it, can't put it all together in their head, but they should be able to say something here. Obviously, the government had to do some of these things because otherwise, how could there be no when somebody's killed in a hospital, they don't even have an obituary, for heaven's sakes, in the paper. That it's
well, I had the hospital records, and they sodomized her. They raped her right in the hospital. She started bleeding. They had to give her intravenous blood. They had to give her blood for a week because they ruptured her lower intestine, sodomizing her.
And just like Kennedy, they stole the body.
Girl in a wheelchair. This is a little girl in a wheelchair.
Yeah, yeah.
And a doctor even said she was raped. Right.
A well-known girl, because she was on Jerry Lewis's telethon for a long time.
She was Jerry Lewis's muscular dystrophy girl, one of them. He had lots of them.
Yeah.
But she was on his telethon, and he made $23 million.
When she doesn't even get an obituary.
When they murdered her, I called Janet Brewer. I called Jerry Lewis, and he didn't even return the call.
Yeah, what
how many calls have you made? Right. My twin was kidnapped with Camille Sirhan's family, 11 years before Bobby was killed.
See, and you were her husband. They should have gave you the body, but they stole the body and cremated it to hide the evidence.
I know that. They've done that.
Well, obviously you know that, but I'm just telling the people.
No, they completely. They'll call dismembered bodies suicide. Somebody cut their own leg off. It's suicide. Somebody cut their ears off. Oh, it's suicide.
With a hole puncher, yeah.
Missing arms, legs, ears. It's natural causes, Greg. I took Victoria. Right. I took Victoria in because she choked on a drop of water. They sodomized her and murdered her after 35 days of torture. And I have the hospital records. The hospital records themselves prove it was murder. And the police don't even look at them. The police in two cities. One tells me it's not his fault the government's corrupt. In Greenville, Tennessee.
The hospital records show she was sodomized right there inside the hospital.
Right, exactly. They
reported all of the damage when the doctors came in. They made reports, but nobody followed through. No action was done.
She had two gay nurses that murdered her.
Yeah.
I don't think it. I know it. I know exactly who they were. I don't kill people. I tried to open a murder case. They murdered my attorney. on
Right.
his way to the DA.
Yeah.
And there's more to this. They built a biker club next to my house, and that biker club was a woman I divorced 30 years earlier.
Yeah.
And she told that story when I was 17 years old. She was raping me about a guy named Shovel. And my wife, Victoria, I found her murdered by a guy named Shovel. It's not coincidence.
No.
It's the same biker club her family ran
She was the
and would
only one.
have
Yeah.
at her father's home. And that's where Jimmy Hoff was buried.
Her
Under my
brother
horse.
was president of that biker gang, wasn't he?
Right. And that Hoff was buried under my horse on that property the bikers would meet on. And then you get people like George Knapp and George Norrie hiding behind UFOs and aliens with Brooks Patterson. Remember, you had Burt Reynolds. I was Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton's publisher. They hide me. You got Sheriff Hackle as you got Burt Reynolds and Smokey and the Bandit hiding me. And he murdered Judge Hunter Starr at Selford Air National Guard prior to 9/11. And remember Cheney? Well, who was Lon Chaney? Oh, that's Thriller, Michael Jackson. Oh, gee, and I'm the Jackson family. I lived with Michael Jackson's family. Oh, and Ike Turner used to change the tires and fix the brakes on my semis. It's all related, Greg. And they hide me in Oakland and Macomb County after murdering little kids, murdering my wives, sending hitmen to murder my wives. Two of my wives were murdered twice. I gave them CPR, brought them back to life, drove them, and flew them to hospitals. And then they were murdered a second time after being tortured.
Mm-hmm.
A second time. And they still wrote natural causes. And state policemen were standing right there in my wife's room as they dismembered and murdered her. State policemen from Senator Graham's state.
Right. And again, for a lot of people that might be hearing this, it's a lot to take in, and you won't know how to sort out all this information.
It's
but
all in your book.
It makes sense to me because I've gone through the details of it and sorted it out. And so I understand what he's talking about. So, it's
all in your book.
There's a lot of information out there. Doesn't mean that all of it's not 100% true. You gotta take the time to learn what he's saying and parse out.
It's all in your book. And your book
it'll all be in the book, right? So
the book is being edited right now. It'll be worldwide in a few more weeks, so maybe 2 months, 3 months. It'll be all over the globe, but I'm going to make sure it goes all over the globe. Whether they give you a copyright or not, I'm going to put it all over the globe.
Yeah.
They like to hide me. You understand that? I don't need a copyright.
I know.
I don't need a copyright. You researched me for 4 or 5 years now. You look into everything I said, and you know everything I said is truth.
Yeah.
And I have documents to prove everything I say.
Oh, they're in the book.
Away. Yeah, I scanned them to you, and you put them in the book, and I have the real documents sitting in bank safes, in vaults.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody going to tell me I'm a liar, and I'm not a conspiracy theory. I'm the real history of this country. They had your generation murder 2 million Middle East people over a lie, hiding the theft of my life.
That's huge.
$2 trillion.
People really need to care about it.
$2 trillion for me. Why do you think they're printing trillions of dollars now? They want the next generation to think, oh, America's always had trillions of dollars. When they stole $2 trillion from me, the entire country's debt was $700 million. It wasn't even that. It was $250 million.
Mm-hmm.
I was the first trillionaire in the country. They stole it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Government servants stole $2 trillion from my federal publishing company. They even stole my income tax, my federal income tax license, along with my name identity. and
And that's the
patents
value of the contracts you're talking about, not
and
like liquid
patents
assets or
and
something.
patents they stole from me,
Yeah, patents.
trademarks. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh yeah.
all about greed in the White House and Senate. So they can print your money and use your taxes to give payola to their friends and collect payola from the kings of Europe.
Well, just that trademark, as much as it's being used, like I said earlier, Fox News says it every single day. If you were collecting royalties just on that, man, you'd easily be the richest guy in the world. You'd put Elon
Well,
Musk to shame.
the gun and drug trade I stopped, Greg.
Yeah.
Robert Tosh Plumley, Kiki Camarino, as I'm married to Kiki Nelson, Ricky Nelson's cousin from Missouri.
Yeah.
I stopped a gun and drug trade being run by the CIA on property I bought from Mazar, Trump's tax attorney. And everybody ignores me. I don't exist. Major Tom Garrett at CBS sent me FBI computers from Clinton's White House. Obama and Clinton. Clinton's computers from the FBI were sent to me by Major Tom Garrett.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not newsworthy.
You even got his name right there on eBay.
In
Yeah,
my
yeah.
church, I'm Saint Hubert the Hunter. China gives Hunter Biden 1.5 billion in payola, and he's got a bank account with his father Joe. Oh, but I'm not newsworthy. And now Biden is using the Jackson name in the Supreme Court. He's using my mother's name, Harris, as his vice president. He's using Gonzalez as head of ICE, and I'm the guy that
That one amazes me.
I stopped the illegal gun and drug trade in the Senate. They put me in jail for a year, and the CIA running it never went to jail. I went to jail for a year because I stopped an illegal gun and drug trade.
Right. And Merrick Garland. This goes on. That's right there. You know, that's the Wizard of Oz all over again.
Well, I grew up with the Garland family.
Right. That's why Judy Garland was on there, and
Garland owns Travis Restaurant. You have a country singer named Travis. Remember, the last time you heard of him in the news, he was running down the street naked, drunk. Remember, Travis?
Yeah. Garland knew your first grade teacher, and knew somebody else in your life too, but I can't think of who right now.
All of my teachers in my elementary school, they would hand me over to the gay political party that didn't exist back then. They were all governors, and they would torture and rape me and kill little kids.
Right.
And the kids were chained next to me in Governor Osborne's basement. None of this is a lie. This is all truth.
Right. When you say the gay political party, some people are going to say, like, well, what are you talking about? There's a Republican and a Democrat party. There's not one called the gay political party. So maybe explain the word gay political party to somebody to clarify what you mean by that.
I don't need to. Anybody with the brain can figure it out themselves.
Yeah, so it's like gay political movement and people that are
well, back then they didn't allow gays in the Navy. In the 50s, you couldn't go in the Navy. You couldn't get a job. You couldn't marry.
Right.
The churches didn't want you. And my family authored the Bible, and my family is not gay.
Right. That's why that's why they said if they want to identify you, they'd say, "Are you a friend of Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz?" To try to identify other gays, right?
Well, after they kidnapped me, my family's in the Smithsonian. The Harris family, steam thrashers, are in the Smithsonian. And Mr. Harris and Mr. Massey, my brother's wife was Mrs. Massey. Huey Massey, that wasn't his real name, but he was a bouncer for me in a club I worked in Detroit. He used my name, Huey, for a week, and he was murdered. At the same time, I was murdered. Mm-hmm. Somebody thought he was me because he was using my name, Huey.
Yeah. Well, Hugh, I was on here for a long time before you got here, so I'm going to have to go to bed here shortly.
This is back in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is in the 60s. There was no gay political party. They were a wannabe party. Now they exist. And there's independents, Republicans, and Democrats.
There you go. So
They're in
they all
every
work
facet
within
of
all
it.
of them.
They're in
Exactly.
every facet of your government, and they're destroying your country. Now you
Yeah.
need 3 and 4 bathrooms instead of 2 bathrooms for a male and
Mm.
a female. Now you need transgender bathrooms, and you need bathrooms for gays, and you need bathrooms for these
There's your
people
gay
and
political
the
party,
women.
all in action. Right.
And
I get it.
they're destroying your entire country after murdering little kids all over the place and women
Yeah.
in my
Mm.
life for 70 years. And my family authored the Declaration. There's no lie
Right.
in this.
Yep.
I don't know how else to say it.
No. So it's crystal clear in my mind. Well, I'm going to have to go, Hugh. I got to go to bed and get up in the morning.
Well, real fast, the book
Yep.
you wrote about me has all this information and all the proof to these things in it. You've researched
Yeah.
me for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
It's being edited. It will be published and be out on Amazon and Kindle books all over the globe. And anybody can buy your book and read my story, and then they'll have an idea of the real truth of this country, the real
Right.
truth of 9/11, the real truth of who murdered the Kennedys, where Jimmy Hoffa was buried, and much more. Tim McVeigh and John Nichols were my neighbors for 30 years. When I moved here to California, Nichols moved next to me with the family that murdered John Lennon. Not coincidence.
Yeah. Yep.
It'll all be in your book.
It's all going to be right there.
I'll let you go to bed.
All right. Well, have a good night, Hugh.
Good
See
talking
you
to you.
later. Yep, you too.